Over thousands of years, the Mandalorians' path was paved by conflict, their boots leaving imprints on 1,000 worlds as they fought against a countless of armies. This ceaseless cycle of conflict became a daily way of life, tempering their cultural identity as they absorbed the culture, weapons, and tactics gleaned from every war. Although the Mandalorians are indeed not a race like the Wookiees, Aqualish, Savrak, or any other species within the galaxy, and despite the overwhelming tides of foreign influence that threatened to erode their very essence, the Mandalorians remained an unstoppable force with an identity perfectly understood by its individual practitioners. Their ancient tongue endured, its roots weathering the linguistic evolution that swept across the stars, refusing to bend or break. More than mere words, it was a defiant rallying cry against the homogenization of their culture. Their way of life, a philosophy and uncompromising ideals, which remained unwavering against change. The foundations of their beliefs unshaken, even in the most complicated moments. For the Mandalorians, the concept of a true homeworld or a monoethnic society was an illusion, a theory they had severed long ago. Instead, their sense of identity, of belonging to a nation, only grew stronger with each passing conflict. With every moment they lived with their brothers and sisters, far from abandoning their beliefs and culture, the ties between them were strengthened, creating a single town. To be Mandalorian is not a matter of using a Beskar armor. It's a state of being, a way of life, believing in the creed in defiance of the galaxy's attempts to extinguish its flame. Their armor was merely a reflection of this spirit, a symbol of their enduring legacy. The Mandalorian culture is a paradox for any individual who doesn't practice the creed. The inhabitants of the galaxy who have them in a prejudice of bounty hunters and heartless warriors without understanding the philosophy and their lifestyle. While their identity is unmistakable, binding them together as a people, they are not a true race united by shared ancestry. Instead, they are a collage, their mark imprinted across countless worlds. These warriors, whose very name recalls fear and savagery on the battlefield, harbor an unexpected respect and benevolence within their family. In contrast to the brutality they unleash upon their foes, Mandalorians revere familial bonds. Rather than subjecting the orphaned children of war to the cruelties that other species might inflict, they accept these young ones, adopting them into their clans and instilling in them the ways of their people. It's this unique combination of pragmatic toughness, ferocity, and profound affection for their kin that creates an enigma around the Mandalorian culture, leaving outsiders perplexed by this odd blend of traits. As the years march on, each new generation of Mandalorians represents an ever-evolving composition. Their ranks grow by those who embrace the creed. Yet, this constant evolution doesn't dilute their identity. Instead, it reinforces the notion that to be Mandalorian is a choice, a way of life that transcends biological constraints. This unity, strength against adversity, and an unbreakable spirit is an innate characteristic, a quality that has always been there since the beginning of the Mandalorians. The history begins thousands of years ago, approximately in the year 200,000 before Battle of Yavin, with the Tongue, the Shadow Warriors, their progenitors. Coruscant is now known as the heart of the Republic, with a great diversity of culture and species, with amazing architecture filled with skyscrapers. However, in the ancient history of Coruscant, there is an intimate relationship with the Mandalorians. 200,000 years ago, Coruscant was known as Notru, home to two species in particular, the Cell, a group of humanoid beings believed to be the ancestors of humans, and the Tongue, grey humanoids, the ancestors of the Mandalorians. The Tongs were a people whose way of life revolved around conflict and the warrior's path. From an early age, their children underwent rigorous training in martial arts, facing numerous physical and mental trials as part of their demanding upbringing. This preparation forged them into formidable warriors, honing their skills and experience to such a degree that wandering Tongs became highly sought-after assets by mercenary companies across the galaxy. The Tong had the characteristic of taking by name those things that describe desirable traits. According to their language called Mandoa, there were individuals called such as Atin, which means persistent, Kot, understood as strength, and Tor, which meant justice. At the heart of Tong society was a deep reverence for those who had proven their mettle on the battlefield. Veterans of successful campaigns were held in high esteem, their battle-hardened spirits and wisdom commanding respect. These experienced warriors, tempered by combat, ascended to the position of leadership within their clans, becoming the chieftains, rulers of their communities. The role of the clans in the life of the Tong was one of the most important things. The similarity of each clan could be compared to a family, so loyalty to these communities was total. While their ruthlessness was a trait that permeated the Tong way of life, this quality was counterbalanced by an unwavering loyalty to their clan. For the Tongs, the bonds of kinship were sacred, transcending even the harsh realities of their existence. From the clans, among the strongest warriors and the wisest elders in the Tong culture, a unique figure emerged, the Mandalore, a title that translated to sole ruler in the ancient Tong language. This role embodied the ultimate leadership over all the warrior clans, a unifying force that bound the Tong society together under a common banner. This intrinsic link between their culture and the art of combat gave rise to a warrior society, one governed by an elaborate code of honor and laws that would eventually evolve into canons that would have a great impact on future generations. Zeal against Tong for control of Notron would be an event that would be forever remembered in the poem titled The Word of Erda. The epic poem is divided into 11 chapters, where Fragment 9 is the most famous. The war between both species for control of the planet was brutal and merciless. The leader of the Tong, General Doom of Ulmar, had fallen in battle, and as the Tong tradition dictated, his body was being cremated on a funeral pyre, where countless Tong were witnessing the fall of their leader, watching as the flames consumed his general, as well as his hopes of victory. With dawn, the mockery of the Zeal was immediate. Laughter and howls were the condolences they gave to their enemies for the loss of their general, leaving the Tong unprotected and vulnerable. The armor, weapons, and all possessions of the Tong would be usurped and taken as trophies of war by the Zeal. However, from the ranks of the Tong, a warrior would take the reins of his people, Rexutu the Unconquerable. He vowed that his honor would be the last to be turned away. Gathering his kinsmen and warriors, Rexutu ordered them to polish their fearsome helmets, ensuring they would catch even the faintest glint of Notron's weak sun. They re-grabbed the hilts of their weapons, determined to slake their thirst with Zeal blood one final time. Rexutu led his army, wielding the Tong banner. Infected by his energy and immersed in a vigorous trance, the Tong contemplated the beautiful landscape of Notron, and among themselves they said goodbye. For now, they had died to the world and must be remade among the stars. As dawn broke, the Zeal awakened and beheld the Tongs upon the high place, and were afraid, for the morning light caught the glint of helms and weapons and created phantom warriors. But their cleverest saw through the mirage. recognizing the Tongue's dwindling numbers. Assembling without haste, merry in their mockery, the exile prepared to march upon their foes, and in the high place, the Tongues awaited death's embrace. But then the ground shook violently, and the sun's pale light was eclipsed by a bright, terrible fire that exploded from the rock itself. Darkness followed, as the very air turned to black ash. The explosion of a volcano broke the tension between both factions to help the Tongue in their lost battle. Struck with terror, the exile fell prostrate while the Tongues, cloaked in shadow, had to meet them, the last stand of the Tongues. The imposing figures of the Tongue, mixed with the ashes of the volcano, made them become an unstoppable army of shadows, taking the name Warriors of the Shadow, or translated into the Tongue language, the Word of Earth. Although the army commanded by Rexutu the Unconquerable was able to hold off the exile, they were unable to win Notron. The Tongue would lose against their enemies, causing an exile, being vanished from the planet, leaving the exile as owners of the future Cursant. After their expulsion from Cursant, the Tongue species relocated to the planet Rune, located in the Outer Rim territories. Thousands of years later, thousands of generations lived on Rune. The descendants of the Warriors of the Shadow had already accepted their new home, their planet of exile. However, in the year 7000 before Battle of Yavin, an iconic figure would emerge to change the history of the Tongue, Mandalore I. Mandalore I was a Tongue warrior who led his people in the conquest of a planet located in the Outer Rim. After arriving on the planet, the Tongue were able to appreciate a place unique in all aspects. The planet had a great diversity of life, native trees of the place that grew in an immense territorial area, the so-called Beskar'gam trees, covering mainly the northern part of the territory, gave rise to enormous forests, or other types of trees, the Gallic trees, that had the particularity of having silver-colored leaves, as were the golden amber ferns that grew in and around Gallic groves. The Tongue were able to encounter animals endemic to these same forests, shatwals and streels, creatures that serve as food for the Tongue. However, this planet had two elements that would be distinctive elements of future Mandalorians. Alongside its solitary lunar companion, Concordia, this planet bore the exclusive distinction of being the sole known repository of Beskar, a remarkable iron ore that defied conventional understanding. Beskar was no ordinary mineral. Its unique molecular structure granted it an extraordinary hardness, rendering it virtually indestructible. This remarkable property elevated Beskar beyond a mere geological curiosity, transforming it into a strategic resource of immense value. Its ability to withstand the attack of even the lightsabers made Beskar a prized article in a galaxy fraught with conflict. And the second element was a rivalry that the Tongues encountered when they arrived on their new planet, the Mythosaur. These creatures were massive reptilian beasts that roamed the plains and valleys of the planet for eons as the dominant native species. With colossal size, these powerful creatures had thick armored hides, long necks, and powerful jaws lined with teeth perfect for crushing prey. The Mythosaurs, the predator par excellence of this world. That all changed with the arrival of the Tongue, a nomadic warrior race led by the formidable Mandalore I. The Tongue were known for their skill in battle. When they came to the planet, they recognized the strength and ferocity of the Mythosaurs. Mandalore I declared that in order to truly make this new world their homeworld, they must conquer its most powerful creatures. Over the course of battles that passed into legends, the Tang fought the mythosaurs, slowly but surely, through persistence and cunning tactics. The Tang drove the mythosaur population to extinction. Without these creatures, the planet had been subjugated, paving the way for the Tang to adopt the world as their new home. The remains of each mythosaur were used to build the first Tang cities on the planet, and thanks to the great bravery and leadership of Mandalore I, the Tang renamed several things in honor of their leader, their new planet, and their own identity, giving birth to the Mandalorians, inhabitants and rulers of the planet Mandalore. The concept of geographic origin holds an ambiguous significance for the Mandalorian identity. Despite Mandalore being recognized as their homeworld, many Mandalorians were not born there, and many had never even laid eyes on the planet. Their norms placed no importance at one's birthplace, species, or citizenship status. Thus, the Manduade, as they are called in their native Mandalorian tongue, which translates to children of Mandalore, don't adhere to the conventional notions of statehood as understood within modern galactic political structures. They disregard hierarchical ranks and social position, preferring instead to evaluate individuals based on their actions and accomplishments. Upholding a true meritocratic system, the Mandalore, the leader of all clans, serves as the closest figure they have to a head of state. When encountered, no one mistakes Mandalorians for any other people, their distinct identity being well defined. The reasons for this are several, ranging from the most obvious, such as their armor or language. However, more deeply rooted in their culture is their identity and the fact that the Mandalorians feel part of something. This personality construction is given thanks to the central Mandalorian dogma, the 6 actions, or known in the Mandalorian language as Rasulnari. The Rasulnari, the core of what it means to be Mandalorian, a sacred law that gives direction and purpose. Education and armor, self-defense, our tribe, our language, our leader, all help us survive. A few words for a people of few words. The meaning of the Rasulnari is that raising younglings as Mandalorians, wearing armor, defending oneself and family, helping the clan flourish, speaking Mandoa, and rallying to Mandalore's side when needed. Extrapolated from the Rasulnari exists a text known as the Canons of Honor, which, unlike the 6 actions, centers its focus on matters of conduct. Tracing its origins to the ancient religious laws upheld by the Tang society, these canons serve as a guiding for ancient Mandalorian warriors in their pursuit of personal glory and honor. By adhering to the tenets of the Rasulnari, with a particular emphasis on loyalty to one's clan and engagement in combat, the laws have to be followed, thus allowing a warrior to gain honor. Adherence to this principle is the defining quality of a Mandalorian, with the emphasis placed on embodying them through daily actions rather than just repeating the words. Despite their apparent disregard for rank and hierarchy, Mandalorians exhibit an exceptional level of cooperation in combat situations. The individualism that characterizes their approach to most aspects of life is set aside in pursuit of a common objective, and they will employ whatever means necessary to achieve their goal. Their fighting forces seamlessly coalesce into informal command structures, driven by a shared focus on the intended outcome rather than personal ambition. This instinctive adaptability is a hallmark of their prowess as mercenaries. Through a selective process, they attract and retain individuals with a kindred mindset and genetic predisposition, reinforcing these inherent traits. The more inclined soldiers are to cooperate on the battlefield, the greater their chances of survival and producing offspring with similar characteristics. The Mandalorian language doesn't make distinctions based on gender. This linguistic feature reflects the equal standing of men and women, as well as the general flexibility of societal roles. While men are expected to be warriors and to raise and train their sons to follow in their footsteps, women are tasked with maintaining the home, wherever the nomadic lifestyle may take them, and nurturing their daughters. However, women are also expected to possess combat skills on par with the men, enabling them to defend the homestead when the men are away. Women fight alongside men on the battlefield, and if they had no dependent children to care for, they are expected to share the responsibilities of defense and warfare equally. Unsurprisingly, the Mandalorian feminine idea revered by men is not one of fragility and grace, but rather on physical strength, endurance, and resilience. The word landurer, translate as delicate, is commonly used as an insult among women. For Mandalorians, the marital union is intended to endure for life's entirety, a commitment that may be cut tragically short given the inherent risks of their warrior existence. Nuptial vows are typically exchanged soon after one reaches the age of 16. The process of this union is a simple one, requiring only the mutual recitation of a pledge between the prospective spouses. We are one when together. We are one when parted. We will share all. We will raise warriors. Despite their emphasis on fidelity and chastity before marriage, Mandalorians are surprisingly forgiving and relatively unconcerned with parentage. As a people who prize action above words and intentions, they hold the view that Alit Orisha Taldin, family is more than bloodline. With many widows and orphans in the Mandalorian community due to the realities of the warrior culture, suitable foreign adult males are not only welcomed but are seen as a necessity to sustain their clans. The adoption process, much like marriage itself, is a simple statement of intention. The Dar'manda, translate as name and soul, it's a traditional adoption ritual. Through the declaration, Nikirtail Guisaath, I know your name as my child. This formal acknowledgement, coupled with the ongoing adherence to the raciality that govern Mandalorian life, is all it takes to become one of the Mandalorians. Among the warrior culture of the Mandalorians, family bonds are paramount, yet breakable under grave circumstances. If a spouse disregards their responsibilities or abandons their partner, a simple declaration severs the marital ties. Similarly, offspring can renounce their parents as Dar'manda, no longer a parent, in response to desertion or acts of cowardice that bring shame upon the family, though such occurrences are rare. Procreation is strategically timed to cultivate formidable warriors. When a couple's firstborn is male, they typically wait 8 years before conceiving again. This allows the eldest son to undergo rigorous training alongside his father for 5 years, attaining legal adulthood at age 13. Only then is the father free to mentor a younger son. Both genders face a rite of passage at 13, honing their survival and combat prowess to be deemed adult warriors. If the first child is female, attempts for a male may commence sooner. Daughters typically remain with their mothers until marriage, but if a couple has only daughters, the girls will be trained as warriors by their father exactly as boys would be. Prior to age 8, nurturing and initial lessons fall upon mothers, whose martial abilities are crucial in upholding the commitment to raise fearless warriors. Mandalorian fathers, despite an outwardly rugged persona, actively engage in child rearing. Parents must impart survival skills, cultural values, and the Mandalorian language, preparing descendants to perpetuate the warrior lineage. Elders ingrain core ideals: loyalty to kin, self-discipline, courage, and reverence for heritage. In this dangerous existence, widows and orphans are inevitable. Families never hesitate to adopt orphans, and single men and women consider it their duty to take widows and widowers as spouses. In the past, Mandalorians were deeply devoted to their religious beliefs. But over time, they became disillusioned with the old fanaticism. This led to a shift towards a more grounded belief system among modern Mandalorians, one that is far less supernatural. Today, Mandalorians view creation myths like the War of Life and Death as allegorical tales that convey deeper philosophical meanings rather than literal supernatural events. The stars, once mythologized as fallen kings of Mandalore, are now seen as symbols, and stories of mythosaurs are interpreted for their metaphorical value rather than taken literally. The concept of Manda, which represents the collective essence of being Mandalorian, is no longer seen as a real heaven, but as a plane of spiritual energy in constant flux between stagnation and the potential for change through destruction. In Mandalorian mythology, this eternal conflict is personified by their deities: Gadharangir, the creator of tests and trials; Hodharan, the trickster, representing fortune; and Arasum, the god of sloth, symbolizing stagnation and idle consumption. The ongoing battle between Arasum and Gadharangir represents the Mandalorians' current understanding, blending past beliefs with contemporary perspectives. According to Mandalorian beliefs, every warrior who dies adds to the afterlife's army, protecting their loved ones in a permanent, peaceful homestead. This is the only place where Mandalorians believe they can achieve a non-transitory state of existence. Just as it's possible to be accepted into the Mandalorian way of life, it's equally possible to lose that status through renunciation or, in grave circumstances, to have it forcibly stripped away. Exile from Mandalorian society is a rare but deeply feared punishment, for it severs one's connection to their clan and entire cultural identity. Mandalorian spirituality finds its foundation in actions. Embracing the Mandalorian lifestyle and upholding the community's values are the cornerstone of unity for a nomadic people and the preservation of their distinct identity. Without a steadfast dedication to these principles, the community risks either dissolution or assimilation into other cultures. In a context devoid of a singular species or a fixed geographical territory, only the enduring values and cultural traditions are passed down through generations. If these aspects are not diligently upheld and reinforced, the community faces inevitable decline. Traditional Mandalorians view being Dar'manda, an individual ignorant of their Mandalorian heritage, as the gravest misfortune imaginable. This concept may be challenging for outsiders to fully grasp, but it symbolizes a loss of essence in the absence of an afterlife, akin to a soulless existence. The essence of home for Mandalorians, known as Jaim, embodies a feeling of security and familiarity that transcends temporary dwellings. Unlike nomadic races that rely on tents, Mandalorians opt for either constructing temporary structures, referred to as Vejaim, using woven greenwood and mud, or appropriating the places of vanquished foes. The concept of temporary varies widely, spanning from a single night to several years, but Mandalorians never view any home as permanent, always prepared to relocate at a moment's notice. The unpredictable nature of a life as nomadic warriors compels Mandalorians to cherish moments of joy whenever they arise, engaging in communal activities like ale drinking, singing together, and enjoying leisure time with family and clan members. Despite the occupational hazards that come with being professional soldiers, Mandalorians don't approach death with the calmness that outsiders might assume. Traditional burial practices are uncommon among Mandalorians due to the absence of permanent cemeteries and the impracticality of transporting deceased bodies during military operations. Instead, communities opt for cremation when possible, scattering the ashes and preserving a significant possession of the deceased as a memorial, often a full suit of armor or its parts like helmets, gloves, or buckles. Mandalorians honor the memories of departed loved ones and comrades each night, reciting their names as a deliberate act of keeping their legacies alive. In Mandalorian culture, there exists a unique term, Ayyehan, which encapsulates the mixed emotions of savoring peaceful moments with loved ones, while at the same time mourning the loss of those who have passed away. While the basic translation may be bittersweet, the depth of this concept within Mandalorian society transcends mere words, reflecting the complex nature of Mandalorian identity filled with contradictions. Mandalorian food reflects the practical needs of soldiers and nomads, emphasizing portability, nutrition, and minimal cooking requirements. Mandalorians have developed distinctive dishes such as gihal, a dried fish meal mixture, and ujaliye, a dense, flat, and extremely sweet cake made of ground and crushed nuts, dried fruit, and spices. Tihar is a strong, colorless spirit made up of any fruit that's available. While narcolith is often seen as a typical Mandalorian alcoholic drink, many Mandalorians prefer netragal, black ale, which is a sweet beer. Sheikh is any infusion of herbs or spices drunk hot, and is often made from a quick-growing citrus-flavored herb called behot. Harshen bread serves as a fundamental component of Mandalorian field provisions. Crafted in layers, the dough underwent a process of rolling and intense baking to achieve robust texture. Before the consumption, the bread was moistened with water to restore its softness, ensuring it remained palatable for Mandalorian warriors on the battlefield. For Mandalorians, armor is more than protection. It's an embodiment of their culture. Beskar'gam, meaning iron skin, reflects the centrality of these warriors' attire. Their iconic helmet, with its D-shaped visor, has become a symbol recognized throughout the galaxy. Mandalorian iron, or Beskar, is the ultimate prize. This near-indestructible metal owes its strength not only to its unique properties, but also to the Mandalorian's masterful techniques. Special foundry processes create a lightweight, molecular cage structure, further enhanced by repeating forging. Beskar is still regarded as more desirable than Durasteel and even Cortosis. These armors are often heirlooms, meticulously customized for each Mandalorian. Both men and women proudly wear their Beskar'gam, which can be as unique as the warriors themselves. The colors and symbols tell stories of lineage, allegiance, or even the wearer's current mission. Sand gold might represent a quest for vengeance, while black signifies justice. Clans or personal transformations can prompt a repainting. Unlike some cultures, Mandalorian have no rigid hierarchy, so their markings are not tied to rank. Sometimes it's simply a matter of personal taste, with blue and green being particularly favored. While other warriors might seek camouflage, Mandalorians embrace being seen. Sigils, painted symbols, further personalize the armor. These might denote clan loyalty, ancestry, or even loved ones. They can also be marks of honor awarded for bravery. Jewelry, if worn, is simple. A heavy belt of precious metals, easily converted into currency, or a sturdy necklace. Ear piercings are not usually worn, as the earrings can be torn off during combat. The iconic Beskar armor of the Mandalorians is a powerful symbol that encapsulates the essence of their distinctive culture and society. Beyond its practical applications as protection in battle, the armor of the Mandalorians is the tangible representation of their warrior spirit and the unwavering commitment they have to the honor of their clan and its creed. The Mandalorians are a people who have endured countless challenges and adversities throughout their history, but they always emerge stronger with every trial they face. Their unwavering determination to preserve their way of life in an ever-changing galaxy are deeply rooted in their cultural identity. The Mandalorians are a testament to the enduring power of a culture that remains true to its core values and principles, even in the face of various overwhelming adversities. Thus, they built a unique and respected place within galactic history, ensuring that their legacy lives on forever.